Okay, this is take two because something else on my video. But hey, this is Harry from Hasper TV back with another video about the Euros. So obviously it's kicking off tonight. As of recording this, Germany versus Scotland's the first game. But I'm going to talk a little bit about England, a bit about the Euros, a bit about players you should watch, and so on and so on. Just going to the England squad. First, I just want you guys let you guys know that I'm not a big fan of the England squad that you picked. First of all, the defenders, Dunk, Guehi, not very convincing picks for me from Gareth Southgate. He should have picked Branthwaite and Tarkowski or Branthwaite and Tomori. And I'm saying this now because England's biggest weakness is the defence. The reason I'm pushing Branthwaite, especially not because I just rate him as a player, but he's also the left-footed centre-half that England need and should have really picked. Along with Tarkowski, and this is obviously maybe like a very big surprise, but Tarkowski, Branthwaite and Pickford play together at Everton. So at least you'd have some team chemistry in the back there. But Guehi and Dunk are very surprising picks. Guehi, for me, not very experienced at this level. I mean, there is Branthwaite, but I think he kind of just... Guehi's just not very experienced anyway in general. And on the international stage, you need strength, and Guehi's not exactly the strongest if you look at him comparing to Branthwaite. Obviously, Tomori can't seem to get into the England team at all. And obviously, Maguire and Dyer didn't go, which was much of a relief to most people. But it's kind of like Gareth Southgate said, look, you don't rate these players, so I'm picking players just against that, really. But he kind of hasn't picked the right ones, I don't think. And as we saw against Iceland, it's not really clicked, has it? As for the forwards, there's another issue I have with the choices. He's taken Eze, Gordon. Obviously, Foden was going to go. Saka was going to go. Tony, Watkins, Kane. I'm not missing anyone. Palmer. I think that's 8 or 9 players off the top of my head who can all play in 3 positions. Or 4 positions, you could argue, I guess, the number 10 role, but I think Bellingham will probably take that. So if we look at England's strike force or forward line, a lot of the players seem quite similar. And I think for me, it's criminal that he didn't take either Grealish or Maddison, because England kind of need that playmaker in the sense of, okay, comparing to Spurs, you come across a low block, you need some sort of creative spark. I know some people may argue Kane can play that role, but Kane plays as a striker for England, and he's been most effective there for Bayern this season too, not dropping back like he used to at Spurs. So for me, I would have taken Maddison or Grealish. I think this is where England might get unstuck. Also, you look at England's group, you've got Denmark, Serbia, two teams who I think could easily get something against England. Slovenia is the game that I expect England to win quite comfortably. And too much quality. Is Southgate really the guy to take England forward as well? I think this is his last Euros, regardless of what happens. But if he won the Euros, I think many England fans would probably want him to stay. But do I rate him as a manager? No. Do I think he'll win England the Euros? No. Do you think England should win the Euros? They should on paper, because they have the best strike force, as I just alluded to. The midfield obviously includes players like Declan Rice, Bellingham and Foden. Alongside, obviously, got Mainu coming through. But the defensive line is the one sort of suspicious thing. And the goalkeepers, of course, as well, is quite questionable. But on the international stage, football's very different. It's a lot slower, actually, which I think will kind of really play in England's favour, and it has over the years. But will England win the Euros under Gareth Southgate? No. I mean, he took Middlesbrough down. I just think he bottled it against Italy a few years ago in that final. When they were winning 1-0, they should have pushed on and scored a second, and I think Italy would have been finished. And obviously, in the end, it went back all the way down to penalties, which England obviously missed. But this time, will Southgate have learned his lessons? If you look at the squad selection, some may argue he has, with the change of obviously with Dyer and Maguire not going, and then some of his other favourites. Like Henderson don't play there anymore. Should England still be winning the Euros with the team that he's picked? Of course they should. But going on to other teams in the Euros, I want to allude and talk a bit about the different groups. Obviously, Group B, to me, with Croatia, Spain, Italy, and Albania, is probably the most interesting on paper for me, mainly because Italy tend to have a tendency to do well. Croatia, very solid. Spain, they're not the same Spain, obviously, that they had under, Xavi, Nesta, Fabregas, but they always tend to do well. And Albania, who is probably the least likely team to go through if you look at that group, but they did finish top of their group to qualify for the Euros, so they must have something. So that group to me seems quite interesting. Obviously, Group E as well, which some people may not really realise. You've got Ukraine, Romania, Slovakia. I think Slovakia's the only other teams, and I think is that the group with Hungary. But anyway, that group as well has a very decent, half decent teams with similar quality on paper. That's another interesting group to watch. So those two groups, I'll tell you guys to keep an eye on, Group B and E. As for players, obviously I'm going to bang the drum again about Kvaratskhelia for Georgia. Now, whether Georgia actually get through their group and we see more of him, their group obviously includes Czech Republic, Turkey, and Portugal. Obviously, that's down to not just Kvaratskhelia, but if you can single-handedly get them out of the group, there must be something there. But whether they can scrape through second, maybe, or something like that. But he's one to watch 100%. PSG bidding for him. See, Eze, for Spurs fans like myself, is probably one to keep an eye on. Whether he plays or not is quite questionable. And then you've got, of course, the likes of Nico Williams, another name that's been bandied about, not just for Tottenham, but for Villa as well. And, of course, there's always one player that comes out of nowhere to kind of light up the tournament that we just don't really expect. And I think that happens sort of every tournament. Obviously, last time I think it was Chiesa in the last Euros who kind of made a name for himself, and every obviously big team was linked with him afterwards. And Damsgaard, I think, was another one who, of course, got his move to Brentford later on and hasn't really kicked on since. But Chiesa sort of has, sort of hasn't. But obviously we see that a lot of players where James Rodriguez had that amazing World Cup, went to Real Madrid, kind of flopped, not really been the same player since. There's good players to watch, like I alluded to, so keep an eye on those ones. But who do I think will win Euros overall? Because I want to keep this video short. France, for me, they have good quality and a great manager that knows how to win everything. And it's no surprise to me that they're probably going to this tournament as favourites. Of course, they beat England in the World Cup. Yeah, of course, quite comfortably in the end after Kane missed that penalty. But I think France just know how to do it. And whilst they might not have the best team on paper compared to, say, England's team, even though it's quite similar, obviously, levels, but I'm talking about overall. With the Mbappe factor, of course, he's going to Real Madrid. Among other players they have at Tchouaméni, I think France should win in the tournament again. One dark horse I'd mention, or rather two, I kind of mentioned earlier in the video, but Spain and Italy are two teams to watch because of, as I alluded to, Italy kind of tend to do well in the tournaments, and I was really expecting anything from them. So it wouldn't surprise me if they went on a run and did something. Spain, I think they're well overdue a comeback of some sort, since obviously the infamous team with Fabregas, Xavi, Iniesta, David Villa, Fernando Torres, who I'd argue that was peak Spain. At some point they're going to have to come back. Maybe this is the year they come back. It's still quite open. As I alluded to, the two groups I'd say, just to end this video, the two groups to watch are Group B and Group E. I'm talking about if you just want to watch games which kind of have even teams and I think quite interesting, just in my opinion, of course, I'd watch those two groups. I think England should walk out their group. If they don't, then Gareth shouldn't be the manager, should he, really? They can't be them lot. And of course, Germany being the host nation, I expect them to get out of the group in Group A. They play Scotland later on today, and I think Germany will probably come to beat Scotland. I mean, maybe the first 45 minutes Scotland will give them a game, but I think being at home in the home nation is probably going to be Germany's win. And like I alluded, I think they'll get out of the group. I think Portugal will get out of the group. I think, like I mentioned, B and E, I keep saying this, but they are definitely the groups to watch. the group. Those would be the groups I'll be buying a lot and wanting to watch because the quality of the team, especially Group B. You've got Croatia as well, who again they're a team who I expect to get to like the quarterfinals as they always do, even with sort of aging stars. But yeah, I think they'll do it. And if you like videos like this, please let me know. I'm going to Cyprus in a few days, so I don't know how many of these I'll be able to do, but if I can get some free time for 10 minutes or something, I might do some. But obviously 3 games a day. Enjoy the Euros, guys. Tonight, 8 o'clock.